If I told you that the phone in your pocket, the app you scroll through every night, the toy you queued up to buy last weekend, and even the AI model your company is using to write code, all trace back to the same place, you'd probably assume that place is Silicon Valley. But what if the answer isn't California, but Beijing, Shenzhen, or Shanghai? And what if the more surprising part is this? The biggest Western companies are quietly copying China, not the other way around. That's the question this video is going to try to answer. For decades, there's been an assumption almost nobody bothered to question. The West invents, China copies. It was a comfortable story, an easy one to believe, and it was true back in the 1990s. But that order is reversing, and most of us just haven't caught up to it yet. Take the app you use to scroll short videos. TikTok didn't invent short-form video. Vine did that first, and it was more popular in the US than people remember. What ByteDance actually built in 2016 was something else entirely, a feed that doesn't require you to follow anyone at all, one that learns from your viewing behavior to predict what you'll want to watch next. That was the single most valuable invention in social media for the entire decade, and it was perfected in Beijing before anyone in Menlo Park could react. Meta panicked. Reels launched in 2020 with the same vertical format, the same algorithmic logic. Google answered with YouTube Shorts. Two of the most powerful companies in tech rebuilt their core products around an idea that wasn't theirs, and they barely bothered to hide it. But that's only part of the story. The more interesting question isn't what, it's why China. And the answer lies in a paradox. China is winning partly because it used to be behind. When mobile internet exploded, hundreds of millions of people in China had never held a credit card or owned a desktop computer. With no legacy system to protect, there was nothing to lose by jumping straight to what came next. Meanwhile, Western corporations were sitting on mountains of wealth built from older business models, and the instinct of any large company facing a faster, cheaper idea isn't to embrace it, it's to slow it down, because that new idea could kill the very machine currently paying the bills. Kodak is the textbook case of protecting the past so hard it lost the future. The second factor is the sheer size of the domestic market. A product launched in China is instantly stress-tested on 1 billion users, a scale no single Western market can match. Internal competition is so brutal that for every successful app you've ever heard of, thousands of competitors quietly died trying the same idea within a year. Whatever survives that gauntlet has already been refined to near perfection before it ever reaches the rest of the world. Pinduoduo's story illustrates this well. In 2015, when Alibaba and JD controlled roughly 80% of China's e-commerce market, launching a new competitor was considered suicide. Colin Huang took a different approach. He turned shopping into a social game. Bring in more friends, the price drops further. A sales milestone that took other platforms a decade to hit, Pinduoduo reached in 3 years. In 2022, that model went global, under the name Temu, quickly becoming the most downloaded free app in the US for 2 years running. The Western response, though, is the part worth paying closer attention to. Because that response wasn't competing with a new idea, it was direct imitation. Amazon, a company that spent 25 years building trust through star ratings and fast delivery, launched Amazon Haul in late 2024 with a layout that looks like a near copy of Temu, a grid of cheap products, slow shipping from China, nothing priced above $20. One of the largest retailers on the planet chose to restructure itself around the model of a startup it was supposed to be beating. And it doesn't stop at e-commerce. Live stream shopping, now becoming a major trend on Amazon Live, TikTok Shop, and Instagram, has already been a $100 billion industry in China since 2016, with Taobao Live, the 90-second drama format currently eating up your screen time. Most of the top 50 apps in that category are Chinese, and studios like Disney, Paramount, and Fox are racing to build their own versions. Even a small toy called Labubu, built on a blind box format that actually dates back to Japan in the 1960s, was revived into a global phenomenon by a Beijing-based company called PopMart, pushing the company's valuation past Mattel, Hasbro, and the maker of Hello Kitty combined. Here's a factor most people overlook entirely. The one field the West was certain it still dominated outright: artificial intelligence. In January 2025, a nearly unknown company called DeepSeek released an AI model that matched America's top products, but trained at a fraction of the cost, on weaker chips due to export restrictions, and given away for free. The market's reaction was almost instant. Nvidia lost roughly $600 billion in market value in a single day, the largest one-day loss for any company in history. In the aftermath, several Western companies, from Airbnb to Pinterest, even Cursor, the coding tool trusted by developers across San Francisco, were found to be running or learning from models with Chinese origins. On the surface, Western consumers are the clearest winners. Lower prices, more creative products, faster iteration. But underneath that, the story gets more complicated. Western tech giants are increasingly playing defense rather than leading. They're no longer shaping the game, they're racing to keep up so they don't get left behind, and that steadily erodes the brand advantage they spent decades building. Traditional entertainment industries, from Hollywood to legacy toy makers, are having to relearn how to play on someone else's field. But perhaps the deepest shift isn't about products at all, it's about people. For 3 decades, the unspoken arrangement was, China trains the talent, America hires it and claims the results. Roughly 38% of the world's top AI researchers earned their undergraduate degrees in China, a sharp rise from a decade ago, and most of them historically chose to work in the US afterward. But that one-way flow of talent is starting to reverse. Researchers once trained at Berkeley, once employed at Google or DeepMind, are now heading back to startups in Shanghai or Beijing, drawn by job offers that no longer lag behind Silicon Valleys. This isn't just about who copies whose product anymore. It's about whether the center of gravity for global tech innovation is actually shifting. Still, it's worth being careful before drawing conclusions too quickly. There are at least 3 scenarios worth watching. The first, the West keeps doing what it's doing now, quickly copying whatever works from China while using policy tools like tariffs, chip export restrictions, and investment controls to slow the competition down, much like what's already happening with TikTok and the semiconductor industry. The second, the AI talent race, becomes a more decisive battlefield than consumer products ever were, where whoever attracts and retains the best researchers shapes the next generation of technology, regardless of which country ships the first product. The third, the 2 tech ecosystems keep drifting apart, one led by the US, one led by China, innovating in parallel, sometimes borrowing from each other, sometimes competing head-on, while the rest of the world has to choose a side or find a way to quietly benefit from both. What does seem certain is this: the assumption that the West is always ahead, an idea baked into how a lot of us instinctively see the world, is getting harder and harder to defend against the actual evidence. The real question isn't whether China is catching up, it's whether you're even still looking in the right direction for where the next big idea is going to come from. Thank you for following this story. If you found it interesting, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share it. For now, this is goodbye. Thank you for staying with Societale Stories.